Okay, hey guys, this is the first of 3 videos I'm going to put up this week on what we've been kind of covering today and kind of as the week goes on. They're going to be 3 videos, one on diminished chords, which is this one on augmented chords, which is the next one, and then there's going to be one after on uses for diminished chords, functions of the diminished chord, because there are quite a few. They're quite cool if you're into that kind of stuff, and although they're not kind of what you're going to be assessed on, they're just really good extra knowledge for you to have. And you know, if I wasn't giving you all the information, I wouldn't be doing my job right. So there you go. So this one is diminished chords. Now, first of all, let's look at what a diminished chord is. If you diminish something, it becomes less. You lessen a part of it. If something is to diminish, it is to reduce in some way, shape, or form. So that's what we're going to do. You might have remembered from when we did intervals, you had a diminished fifth. Devil's triad, it can also be the augmented fourth. Diminished fifth, yeah. That's essentially what we're doing with our diminished chord. Now, we'll get onto that in a second. The next question should be, why do we even have diminished chords? If we look at our diatonic series, our major, minor, minor, major, minor, minor, diminished, okay? And the reason for that is, as with all the others, we have to stay within the key that we're in. So in the key of C, we can only use the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, okay? So that works fine, you know, making the major or minor up until the B. But if we look at a B major chord, you get this, okay, which is B, D sharp, and F sharp. Now, I hear you screaming through the internet, but D sharp and F sharp don't appear in the major scale, Tim, so we can't use them. And you're right to say it, because you can't. We have to flatten them both to bring them into the major scale. They won't work otherwise. They won't be diatonic. So if we flatten them, so we have B, then D sharp down to D, F sharp down to F, you get this formula. Root, minor third, flat fifth. Okay, that's the triad version of it. Now, I will play it on the guitar. It does sound a little bit nasty on the guitar, but, you know, you're just going to have to deal with that. So it's that. Here we go. It's not a nice sounding chord at all. Okay. Using the right context, it can sound brilliant. On its own, as a triad, it sounds horrible. There's no getting away from it. It just does. So that's it in triad form. You have root, minor third, flat fifth. Okay. And that worked across the board. If we were to do C diminished rather than this triad, this arpeggio, you get this. Okay, that just works across the board. So that's fine as a triad. So we know what it is as a triad. So what happens if we try and make it a seventh? Because, as you know, we've been extending chords to the seventh, so complete the octave, and a diminished chord is no different. Unfortunately, you have two options. Okay. The first one is if we're staying diatonic, if strictly speaking, if you chuck a diatonic seventh onto a diminished chord, so for instance, the key of C, if our B diminished chord, if we put the seventh on there, it would be what we call a minor 7 flat 5. So let's break that down. If you're in the key of C, you want to find the major, you want to find the seventh that we're putting on our B chord. The major seventh of B is A sharp. A sharp doesn't appear in the key of C, so we flatten it to make A, which is a minor 7. So we get this minor 7 flat 5, which is pretty much exactly what it says. It's a minor 7 chord, so it's your standard root, flat third, what would be your fifth, and flat 7, but it's a flat 5 as well. So root, flat third, flat 5, flat 7, and you get this. Okay, which sounds a bit nicer than the triad, it has to be said, just because it's got more support to it. It just sounds a little bit fuller. Not so. Again, you have to be careful where you use it, but if used correctly, it sounds brilliant. So there's the first one. That's minor 7 flat 5. That's diatonic. You have the option to move out of the diatonic series very, very slightly when it comes to diminished chords, and I'll explain more why in the other video I do about diminished chords, about the uses for them, because otherwise it gets very complicated. So just take it as read that you can do this. Now, something I forgot to mention actually, the minor 7 flat 5 chord, that is referred to as a half diminished chord. Okay, half diminished. That's important to remember because the alternative is to make a full diminished chord. Okay, and the only difference is the seventh. On a minor 7 flat 5 or half diminished chord, it's root, minor third, minor seventh, minor third, minor fifth, flat seventh. Okay. With a full diminished chord, you actually have what's called a double flattened seventh. So the seventh is flattened twice. Okay. So let's work that out. We're in B. We flatten it once to get our major 7, which, so if we're in B, our major 7 is A sharp. Flatten it again to get our dominant 7, or our minor 7, which is A. Flatten it again to get what's called our double flattened 7th, or our diminished 7th, which would be A flat. Okay, so the formula for a full diminished chord is root, minor third, minor fifth, double flattened 7th. Okay, which sounds like this. If I can play it. It sounds like that. Okay, there's a very subtle difference between the two. So I'm going to play them together and arpeggiate them so you can hear them. So this is your half diminished, or minor 7 flat 5. Okay. This is our full diminished chord. Okay, so there's only one note difference between the two. And there's various reasons for it, which again I'll go into in the other video. But that's essentially all I want you guys to be able to kind of do with diminished and augmented chords. There'll be another one on augmented chords. The actual test that we're going to do, you will be required to identify diminished chords. You don't have to identify what type of diminished, so just that it is diminished in kind of an oral test. So that's the bit I want you to focus on, but you need to know all the information about the two different types of diminished chords, because again, I need to give you all the information because that's kind of why I'm here. So as with everything, any questions, any comments, please do message me on Facebook or through my college email. That's again what I'm here for. I'm quite happy to answer any questions you throw at me, so do that. In the meantime, check out the website. There's some great ear training stuff, as I keep saying to you. Check that out. And I really hope this helps. Let me know if you have any problems. Thanks very much.